This is Joe Peters from MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network and the H.E.R Network on the Single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Single TV app in the respective app stores in iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick in all smart TVs since 2016. And if you are not following me yet on Instagram and Facebook, please go at Joe Unicorn Coach. I handle my own social media, and if you are having a question, a doubt, a challenge around motherhood, around how to win the marathon of motherhood without burnout, send me a message. And if I don't know the answer, I will have an expert like Hannah today to help us to navigate and figure out the best way to find a path to solution. I am super excited to have Hannah here. The purpose and the mission of MomFit with Joe Peters is helping moms around the world to feel that they are not alone, to feel that they have a tribe behind them, and to feel that they actually can win the marathon of motherhood without
Mhm.
burnout and without running down to their feet. That's why I'm super excited to be talking about this topic with Hannah, and that is the transition from working outside the home to becoming a stay at home mom that works.
Yes.
And I love that. We were talking in the green room before. We have a lot of things in common with Hannah. We both are engineers. We both work in manufacturing. Hannah is a chemical engineer with 8 years of management experience in manufacturing. Um, she left her corporate career as a choice to be a stay at home mom while she was pursuing her master in industrial and organizational psychology. And that fired her to do what she does now because she faced a lot of judgment and pushback and difficulties when she made that transition. So now she is passionate to help moms and women through the transition, however, serve them the best. So instead of having the judge and the pressure of the outside, make sure that the moms are and making the decision based on what is best for them. And then she also helped young female engineers to navigate a male dominant industry, all the industries, especially manufacturing. And she is the beautiful mom of a fairly little girl that is 2 years old. Hannah, thank you for being here and taking some time today. I would love if you tell us a little bit more about you beyond
Yeah.
what we had in your bio. And then I always ask people to give me a phrase, and your phrase was "all moms work." So let's gonna start with why you picked that phrase, and then a little
Mhm.
bit more about your journey into supporting moms in this transition.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. When I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, I really looked at my work schedule and my husband's as well, and just thought, like, I don't think that I can do this. I didn't have like a support system around me. I didn't have any friends that had any children, and I was overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed by that decision to leave a career that I was really passionate about to then become a stay-at-home mom. So then when I did it and worked through all of the struggles that came with it, I thought, what better way to use this experience in my life than to help other women navigate that transition as well, and just work through the natural struggles that come when you have a kid and maybe you go back to work or maybe you stay at home. So I really am passionate about eliminating this divide between stay-at-home moms and working moms, because everybody is working in one way or another. If you're working outside the home, you're paying somebody to do the things you would do if you were a stay-at-home mom. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you rely on others to provide financially for your family. So it's really about just supporting moms in whatever choice that they make for themselves, and normalizing that everybody is going through their own struggles and that's okay to talk about. So, yeah, that's why kind of the phrase "all moms work" is really important to me.
I love that. And one of the things that I love about your approach, and I'm aligned with that because I also work with my clients on that with the
Mhm.
archetypes, and is what I'm hearing you saying is there is not a cookie cutting. So it's not that thing of, oh, you need to be a working mom, or you need to climb the corporate ladder and have a family, or have a business and have a family, is not the only way. And I think that is important that we also have those discussions and that normalization of saying what is possible without
Mhm.
judgment.
Yes.
And for me, it was similar, but when I left corporate in 2019, I was not a mom yet. But when I became a mom, I was so grateful that I made the decision to have my own business,
Yeah.
because I literally had not, I don't think that I will have the stomach, especially because I have also postpartum depression and anxiety,
Mhm. Yeah.
to do things like leaving my baby, my newborn at 6 weeks in daycare
Mhm.
because I had to go back to the office.
No. Yeah.
But then that's a reality that a lot of women keep feeling into. They have to compromise, they have to choose. So I love that you are doing this revolutionary work on saying, hey, there are more options,
Mhm.
and this is how you can do them without feeling guilt and without feeling shame. So
Yes.
we're going to talk a little bit about that permission to become a stay-at-home mom, if that is what you want, and why you
Mhm.
don't talk a little bit what do you face? How was your journey when you were like, you know
Mhm.
what, I'm gonna give up this career that we were talking in the green room before? You were one of the few females in that executive line.
Mhm.
So, how the world around you react, and how that make you feel when you were doing that?
Yeah, so I think for the first part, just giving yourself permission to be a stay-at-home mom, I think, anytime that you've had any kind of professional success in your life or you're doing a job that you really love, the idea of then giving that up to, I guess the kind of typical stereotypes of a stay-at-home mom, like sit around on the couch and not do anything, that bridging that gap between having a professional life and then staying at home with your kids feels enormous. And I think that not enough people are talking about just the realities that, for me personally, often being at home with my daughter in those, like you said, those first few weeks and everything, that was harder than my job managing 120 employees. Like truly more physically and emotionally draining than managing all of those employees. And I don't think that stay-at-home moms get enough credit for that. Especially when you're talking multiple children. I only have one, so I cannot imagine what it's like to have multiples at home. So um, but yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that was the most difficult internal struggle was just that I had had a lot of professional success and I was regularly getting validation from those kind of extraneous things like, solving big problems, saving money, hiring a great candidate, whatever it was. And then I went from that world to staying at home with my daughter, where my husband's working full time and is gone a lot, and it's just me and her, and she's not telling me at 6 weeks old that I'm a good mom or anything like that. So it was really a struggle for me to switch from all of this external validation to really finding my value and worth within myself. That was, I mean, by far the biggest struggle that I had with that transition. And then, on top of it was just the societal pressure that I felt like that I had given up this huge thing, that I had given up being an engineer and being a manager to stay at home with my daughter. And I felt really insecure about that. So, for the first probably 6 months of staying at home with her, anytime anyone would ask, I would say, well, I'm getting my master's, but I'm also like staying at home. Or I, would do this side hustle job and like say that first. And then eventually over time, I realized like, no, this is hard work. I'm doing, and it's valuable. And, and not everybody can do it. And I'm privileged to be able to take the time off to be able to stay home with my daughter. So that's something that I need to learn to be proud of. So even when I didn't feel it, I started just saying, I'm a stay at home mom. Even when I didn't want to lead with that, I just started owning it. And that really helped kind of just change my mindset to realizing that valuable work. It's worth it, and ended up being something that I was actually like really proud to have on my resume. So,
And I love that. And thinking about normalize, especially
mhm,
on the US, because we are so behind everybody else. I
yes.
was in a conference and it's a female owned company.
Mhm.
And then one of the executives was sharing, and she was like, "Oh my God, I had such a amazing, generous maternity leave."
Mhm.
And then after that, she followed with is 12 weeks. And I just
Yeah.
crunched my teeth because that
Mhm.
show how screw up for moms things are in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, of course, when you don't have anything, 12 weeks is generous.
Right.
But being a woman-owned multimillionaire company, that is not the standard. The standard
Yeah.
is in countries like Canada, countries in
Mhm.
Europe, where the maternity leave is 6 months, 12
Right.
months, 18 months.
Yeah.
And then those 12 weeks start becoming just the minimum.
Mhm.
One thing that you make me think about when you were talking is um, that I keep saying it is what it will look like if we start saying like, oh, I am the CEO of my household.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what we are. Like I
Yeah.
keep telling my moms, like when we are talking about how moms feel guilty about hiring a coach or hiring a
Yeah.
mentor or investing in programs, say our job as mom
Mhm.
is the hardest job in
Yeah.
the entire planet.
Yes.
And we actually see CEOs and athletes, and they have a team and they have coaches and they have support to the point that if any of them show up and say, oh, I don't need the support anymore, we all will be worried. And
Yes.
our job as moms is harder than them, but society, and because of society are brainwashed, we tend to think that we have to figure it out all by ourselves, that
Totally.
we should know better.
Mhm. Yeah. I relate to that so much just because I can remember those early days of when first my paycheck kinda stopped coming. Obviously, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I stopped feeling like I could invest in myself, even in the small ways, and this wasn't anything that my partner had done to make me feel this way, but I stopped getting my nails done. I stopped going to therapy like I had been before, all of these things because I felt like I'm not bringing home anything financially, so I don't deserve to spend that money outside the house. And really what it did was put me in a position of being completely burnt out because I hadn't taken care of myself in 6 months. And I think like just and I was actually talking to a friend recently who's a stay-at-home mom, and I loved this so much. Her husband pays her a salary, like, because she's like, "I'm working, I want my own money. I'm literally on my feet with these kids for 10, 14, 16 hours a day. I deserve to have a salary to be able to spend that however I want." And I just applaud that so much. I think that that's so empowering for her to make that happen for herself. So I
And
was
it's
really
very
encouraged.
aligned with what we were talking about the CEO.
Yes,
When you are seeing yourself as the CEO, it's not like, oh, I'm just because that is the other thing is we hear all the time,
yes,
I'm just a stay home
yes,
or I'm just a staying home. But instead it's like I'm the CEO. I keep this house running.
yes.
And that is huge. Now let's gonna talk a little bit about that division
Mhm.
between working moms and stay at home moms when in reality we all are working. There's either you are working outside home or you are working in the home. But let's go talk a little bit about that division that you see and what we can do to start eliminating that division and supporting each other as moms better.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely perpetuated by the media, just things you see on Instagram, reels, and everything like that. That's always talking about, just what a stay at home mom life is like versus what a working mom life is like. And there's no doubt different struggles between the two of them. I think what's important to showcase is the fact that just because the struggles are different doesn't mean that they're not magnitude wise just the exact same how they show up. So, a working mom may feel guilt because they miss bedtime because of a big project at work, whereas a stay-at-home mom might feel guilt that they went to college and got a degree, and now they're sitting at home with, making sensory boxes and snack time 1,200 times a day, feels like. So I think just that gap exists between, it's like, who has it harder? What is this, and none of that even matters, I think, is like the real point that I want to like put out into the world, is it doesn't matter who has it worse. What matters is that both groups need support. And that support might look different, but it's derived from the same thing, which is that we're struggling with the same issues. We have guilt, we have shame around the choices that we've made, and none of that is necessary. So, and I'd also just like to compare it to, like, nobody is asking dads, like, "Are you a working dad?" Like, that's not a thing that people ask. And so why are we asking women those questions? Yes, I'm a working mom who works at home with my kids. Like, that's the truth of it. So, yeah.
I love that. I'm a working mom that work with my kids. And
Yeah.
then you're right. And then it's part of that support. There is something. I was coming back from Puerto Rico this week. And there was something really fun. And I was really nice about it because it showed me how we are changing. So we were in the airport. My baby was asleep. So I was in a wheelchair. My husband was pushing me.
Mhm.
And then we went to the elevator, and there was a mom with a stroller, a car seat, and her baby probably was 6 months. Like, it was a
Mhm.
tiny baby, and
Yeah.
she was by herself. So I told the baby, I was like, "Hi, blah blah blah," and then I was like, "You have a badass mom." I don't think that I will be. I don't think. No, I know I will not be brave enough to travel by myself with my
Yeah.
baby that big, that tiny like yours.
Mhm.
And then she was like, okay, thank you. We get out, we start walking. And then in the next stop for the next elevator, we meet again.
Mhm.
And it was so funny because it was so obvious that she kept thinking about what I said.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me and said, like, you are a badass mom too. We are all badass moms. And I
Yeah.
just smiled and said, like, yes, we are. And it's very nice that we start acknowledging that, like, oh, you're a working mom that stay at home. Oh my God, you are a badass, because I don't think that I will be able to do what you do every day with your kids.
Yes.
And then in the other way, oh my God, you are a badass mom because you leave your
Mhm.
kids first thing in the morning and don't see them until the evening. I don't think that I will be able to do that. But so instead of
Yeah.
creating that division, if we use that to create admiration and support for each other and see how, like you were saying, we all are doing something difficult. We are all, no matter what part is the part that we are working on, we are doing something challenging.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I think, like, I love just the idea of, like, celebrating a mom for the choices that she's made instead of questioning them, like, and that division between moms goes down till the minute you give birth to them, is it C-section or, natural delivery, vaginal birth, whatever, like, and then bottle or breast, and then there's, school or stay at home, all of these different things that we're putting moms into categories for the choices that they made. And I'm just you will never find me asking a mom or judging them for the decisions that they've made, because everybody does something different. It's because of their personal backgrounds, like whatever it may be, and I'm happy to support them in whatever way that they choose. And that just reminded me of, like, I was running with my daughter in a jogging stroller a few months back, and like another mom running with her kids, and we just like connected through the airwaves, like, yes, we are out here with our kids, like taking care of ourselves at the same time. And no, we didn't stop and say, are you a stay-at-home mom or a working mom? Did you breastfeed or bottle feed? No, you don't say any of that. You just connect with them and say, you're a badass, and that's all there is to it, no matter what choices you've made. So,
I love, love, love that. And for what would be your advice in even share your journey? Because
mhm,
it's very interesting hearing you. For me, it was very similar. I had over 1,600 team members under
mhm,
me, but it was very interesting when I hear you saying that staying with your tiny newborn baby
mhm,
impact your mental health and well-being and stretch you in ways that managing 120 employees didn't. And then I will actually step here to give some of the moms context
Mhm.
that may not know this, that the 120 managing 120 employees, it's magnified and
Mhm.
expand when it's in manufacturing, because you are also dealing with, a lot of the times we are the only woman, we are the youngest woman, so there is still some sexism and
Mhm.
very strong. So in that environment, managing 120 people and then
Mhm.
transitioning and seeing how much more challenging it was to have that newborn, impacting your overall mental health and well-being. Let's going to talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
What do you mean when you say that impact your mental health and your well-being? What do you face? And going backwards inside, what will you like? What will you wish you knew that we can share with moms so they can be prepared if they are starting to think on that transition?
Yeah. Yeah, so when I was in the manufacturing plant, like I said, my team was 120. I had 2 women on my team, and one was my assistant, and one was a production employee. So, and that was pretty much it. And I was the first female that had ever reached the position that I was at, department manager. So, when I first got into that role, there was a lot of pushback about me not being inexperienced, too young, not I hadn't grown up in the ranks, even though it felt like I had ever since I graduated college. So, really just overcoming all of that, was it all fell on building relationships with my employees, and I did that very well. And then towards the end of my time there, it was autopilot. We knew how to solve problems together. We knew when a problem arose, how to deal with it immediately. And we worked as a well-oiled machine, like all 120 of us, all on the same page all the time. So then cut to I'm at home with a 6-week old. My husband's gone back to work. My mom has left, all of that stuff. And I think that there's a misconception that moms are going to be, the intuition is going to take over and that you're going to know what your baby needs at all times. And so I gone from this very like problem solving mindset to then looking at this baby trying to solve its problems and nothing's working. And, the mindset that I had before that was very like systematic and like going through the steps and I know that that will reach success, like none of that was working anymore. So I think that that was a really hard lesson for me to learn that, it takes time. And then as soon as you figured out a problem with the baby, there's a new one. They're in a whole new stage, new sleep regression. They don't like bananas anymore, whatever it may be. So I think that that was exhausting for me just to realize that I was not as equipped as I thought that I had been, that I thought that this job with all of these challenges and everything was setting me up for success as a stay-at-home mom, and I didn't feel that transition as easily as I thought it would. And then just mentally, I think, in the middle, I dealt obviously with a lot of sexism, ageism, and everything like that. And even that I knew how to deal with. I had done it for, almost a decade. I knew what I could handle and what I couldn't. Had set very clear boundaries about what I would and would not accept. And when those were crossed, I would take that to an HR department if I needed to. And I always had a therapist to talk me down off the cliff if I was really, overwhelmed or anything like that. And then, like I said before, when I started being a stay at home mom, I felt, bad about investing money into myself for my mental health. So, being at home with my daughter all the time without all of those external validations, my mental health really took a hit. Truly, like I felt very lost. I had no clue what I wanted to do next. I was, just basically confused and not enjoying it the way that I had imagined that I would. So, eventually I got back into therapy. I had, like, I always like to tell the story of the moment that it snapped for me was my daughter had been screaming in the car for like 2 hours and I had to pull over and had a panic attack, like on the side of the highway. Like that was the moment for me that I was like, I have been neglecting my mental health for too long. It's time for me to get back to this. So I immediately started going back to therapy and started doing the little things like getting my nails done, getting my hair cut every 6 weeks, whatever it may be, just walking outside. Like just I really had neglected all of those simple things that had sustained me before. And that's really when it started turning around for me. And I hate that it took me so long. I wish that I had been able to enjoy those first 6 months a little bit more, but I know that I won't let myself get back in that situation again. And that kind of helps me going forward.
That is so, so important. And is part of that understanding of how much our life changed
Mhm.
and how much our life will not be the same. And I will even say how we are not prepared.
Yeah.
We are not prepared to have that change. And one of the things that is super fun for me because I feel it is the one that you say that we all assume that is going to be natural.
Yeah. Mhm.
And we all assume that is going to flow
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
And it's like wow, like no, it's not.
No.
Um so yeah, it's how do you think that we could prepare better in the future and for
Mhm.
the moms that are hearing it, because I think that this is not only for the first time mom, because every postpartum is different
Yes.
with every
Yeah.
child. So how we can stop assuming that is natural and is going to just flow, and
Yeah.
then start actually in a proactive way from the engineering mindset of
Mhm.
preventive and almost like project management, how we can start thinking on what we can do different to reduce the risk of some of these things to just hit us, like hit you and hit
Yeah.
me the
Mhm.
first time.
I think this all goes back to telling the stories of women who and which is exactly what you're doing here, but telling stories of women who have different experiences. So, I have a friend who recently, worked through a really difficult time of postpartum depression, and she felt like the first 6 of her 12 weeks at home with her baby were miserable for her, truly, and she had to get on medication. And, the conversations that we've had coming out of that are, I want to share this story so that when another mom is faced with it, they know that they can get help. And then they don't have to, 6 weeks into or half of the way through their maternity leave, that just then be asking for help. So I think it's really just about knowing what's normal and what's not. And I like to do that through any kind of storytelling that I can. And I think that that's really what's powerful about I think a lot of this kind of cultural shift in motherhood is going towards normalizing what the truth is about what it's like to be a mom, especially a newborn mom. And I love to see that. And I think that the more that we tell those stories and make it normal for more people, they'll be asking for help and be willing to invest in themselves earlier. And then I think just about the intuition thing, I think, there's so much advice out there about how to raise a baby, the sleep training, everything that you can possibly ever want to Google about what to do with your baby, it's out there. And I think almost sometimes that's an information overload that can kind of keep moms in keep moms questioning their intuition and not sure what path to go. So I think just looking at all of that with a grain of salt and just realizing that what works for one mom may not work for another, what works for one baby may not work for your next, and just maybe just keeping more of an open perspective as far as like, this is a unique the situation that I'm in right now. A million moms before me have gone through it, but it actually is completely unique to me. Like whatever is going to work and whatever will not work, that's unique to me. And just being open to try new things. And I mean, the number one thing is find support and community. I think, we talk about this village, like there's a village to raise kids. And it's like, where is this village that everybody's talking about? Like, it doesn't feel natural. It's taken me 2.5 years to find really good mom friends that I feel like I can rely on and truly be open and honest with about the struggles. So that's if I could give any advice to a new mom, it'd be to connect with moms in your community, with moms you find on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever it may be. Because I think that that's how we kind of tear down the walls of like what the truth and reality of motherhood is, for sure.
And I love that because actually there was a viral TikTok or reel or whatever last
Mhm.
year on that. I was like, where is the village?
Yeah.
Like, where is it? Like everybody's talking about this stupid village, but
Mhm.
where is it? And then the part that we miss to tell is that you need a village, but you also need to build that village.
Yes.
That village was by default some centuries ago,
Mhm.
because when you were living in those communities, then even like in the tribes, then you
Mhm.
have your mom, and your mom had 12 sisters, so you have 12 aunts, and each of the 12 aunts had
Yes.
6 kids, and you have 5
Absolutely.
sisters. So the village was by default there
Yeah.
because your family was the village. And
Mhm. Absolutely.
actually, I keep telling this to people when I went to Africa to be with the Hadza tribe. It was very shocking for me that
Mhm.
there was not a clear distinction of whose mom was who.
Okay. Mhm.
They were all taking care of the babies. You were not able to say, "Oh, this baby belongs to this mom." No,
Yeah.
but then I think that we keep agreeing that that is needed.
Yeah.
But now that we are traveling, that we are moving to different countries, that we are moving to different states, we lose more and more of that. In addition to, instead of having 12 kids, now we have maybe
Mhm.
one or two. So when you're talking about 10 generations, instead of having 35, 40 people in your extended family to support you in the same town,
Mhm.
like you were saying before, it's only you and your husband. Like it was the same for me in Ohio. I
Yeah.
didn't have any of my family's in Colombia, his family's in Iowa. We have one friend
Mhm.
that was
Right.
close enough. So I think that that is a huge
Mhm.
um tip, and that is,
Yeah.
and I will even say, don't wait. And this is part of my engineer. Don't wait until you need it, because when you need it, it's too late. So
100%. I totally agree with that.
if you are pregnant, start now.
Mhm.
It
Yes. Yeah.
doesn't matter what trimester you are. Start
Mhm.
making those relationships. Start making those connections. Be that person that organize. Be that
Mhm.
person that invites. Be that person that. So then, if you need it in the future, it's already there. And
Yes.
hey, if you never need it because you are one of those small percentage that goes through birth, postpartum, and everything is perfect, then you will for sure be changing the life of another mom
For
that
sure.
is in that community.
Yeah, and just to go off of that, just practically speaking, I'm not the kind of person who wants to reach out and make friends. That's not really who, I'd prefer just stick with my core little group, but none of those women had children, so really none of them could relate to what I was going through. So then when I moved back home and was surrounded by, in a new community that I wasn't really used to, I literally just some practical ways to find mom friends is find your community Facebook group. If you're pregnant, say when your baby's due and that you would like to meet moms who have kids around the same age. Or if you have a child, just say, I have a 2-year-old, I'm staying at home or I'm working and I'm free Tuesday nights and I'd love to go get sushi. Like those, you can actually do that. I actually have made some amazing friends that way. Also, like free community events for moms. A lot of churches will put on like music classes or something like that. And those are often, free in the community to do that. I've met one of my very best friends in town who has a son who's 3 weeks older than my daughter. I met her through one of those, and I was just willing to say, "Could I have your number? Would you like to grab coffee and watch our kids run wild at the zoo one day?" Like, and then other opportunities will come up from putting yourself out there like that. Like I joined a community kickball league that I have friends with kids, in around the same age as mine. And it's just like invaluable to input yourself into the community when you're trying to raise a kid in it. I think it's just helpful as far as like learning about the schools, learning about, different programs around town, everything like that. So if you just sit back and wait for it to happen to you, it probably won't. That was my plan, was just wait till all of my friends have kids. But 2 years in, none of my friends have had kids yet except for one of them. So it was really up to me around the 1 year mark to say, okay, I have to create this community for myself. And I think that that's been really empowering for me. And I've made amazing friends. So it's definitely been worth it.
And then the other thing that I value on those connections, especially with um, moms of kids around the age of yours,
Mhm.
is that you stop feeling so alone, and then you stop feeling that you're the only one going through that. And
Yes.
then it's important with kids around your age, because we forget, we are so tired and our brain
Mhm.
is so much in a survival mode. I
Yes.
remember when I had my baby, all my friends, in different than you, all my high school friends already had kids,
Mhm.
but they were 2 to 5 years older than mine.
Yeah.
And I remember being so upset because I was asking them things, and the answer was, go and meet moms
Yeah.
with kids around your age. And I
Mhm.
was like, but I have you, and you already passed through this. Why you just
Yeah.
don't help me?
Mhm.
And as I start going through the process, I start seeing how important that was, because the reality is we don't remember as much. But
Yeah.
when we are right there in the middle of it, then we have that. It's not that we are going to do pity patties all the time, but
Yeah.
it's very reassuring to hear, holy cow, is such a thing as a 2.5-year old sleep progression.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and then it's very comforting in a weird mode, feeling that I'm not the only one that is struggling again with
Yes.
sleeping and with waking up several times per week. But then you start having fun, and then you can start checking on each other. Hey,
Mhm.
how was B night last night? Oh my gosh! So
Yeah.
that comfort, also in unity, on feeling that we are not the only one, is very powerful. And it's important that it's around the same age, because the
Mhm.
milestones change.
Yes, yes, totally. Yeah, I just thinking of every time that I have met up with my sister-in-law, she has a daughter who's the same age as mine, or my friend who has a son the same age. We're always saying like, "Hey, did he start hitting you this week? Because that's a new thing in our household, you know? Did he start throwing all his food onto the floor like my daughter has? Because like, what are you doing to manage that?" Um, and yeah, it's just so empowering and helpful to just look at another mom who has a kid the same age and be like, me too, like this is tough, we're going through it together. And then in those moments where you feel like you're going to lose your mind at home, you think, well, someone, one of my good friends is going through the same thing, you know, I can reach out to them, they can give me a little bit of encouragement, and I'm willing to do that for them as well. And that's, I mean, there's nothing more valuable in motherhood than having a good friend that you can, you know, kind of be in the trenches with, for sure.
And going back, circling back to what
Mhm,
we talked at the beginning, we need that, and that is one of the things that I am an advocate. I was actually celebrating yesterday that um, um, there is a doula in New York,
mhm.
Maven doula, and she celebrated yesterday that they finally get a pilot with Blue Cross Blue Shield in 2 states
Okay.
for insurance to cover the doula.
Oh, okay, wow.
That
Yeah,
is huge, because a doula can cost almost $2,000. So
yeah,
the reality is the percentage of people that had that money to put in addition to the almost $5,000 that cost giving birth
mhm,
in the United States.
yes,
But the point there that I was going to is, we are so afraid to ask for ourselves. So
yeah,
especially as moms, we are always thinking on their school and give them the
mhm,
best. But then when it's about us investing in ourselves, on getting a coach, on hiring
Mhm.
somebody like you or me, on saying, hey, I need support, then we have that guilt. Then we have that, oh, but I should figure out. Oh, but it should be enough with my friends. And I would love to hear your opinion, because I don't think that that's a reality. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you need to have your friends, and in a lot of cases, you need to have an expert that can give you some tools, that can guide you, that can keep you accountable. And it's
Mhm.
about us feeling that we are worth it of it, and that it's okay to be self full and put our needs first.
Yes. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that one? What is your position on that one?
Yeah, so I think this idea that we're taking, if we're hiring professionals, so say a coach, a therapist, whatever it may be, a physical therapist for, pelvic floor therapy, whatever it may be. I think that moms start feeling selfish, that they're taking, finances from their family, and then also time away from their kids. And I think both of those things uh, add up to preventing moms from doing those things. And I think that the number one message before I get into the value of those professions is just that you are a better mom when you invest in yourself. So that's literally the equation that you have to ask yourself. Do I want to continue down this path of not investing in myself and being, maybe not as well-rounded or not as mentally healthy as you could be? Or do I want to put a little bit into myself and then show up the best way that I can for my family members? Like, I mean, just as an extreme version, after, I made the decision to start investing in myself, I asked my partner for a night away in a hotel room by myself. And I felt so guilty for that. Of course, as soon as I do that, my daughter's sick the whole time. It always happens that way. And I had to look myself in the mirror, and I called my mom as well, and she said, "You're gonna be better when you get home tomorrow. Like, you're going to be able to handle this sickness better when you get home tomorrow because you did this for yourself." So, and I know that, like I said, that's an extreme version of it, but it can be small things like going to therapy once a month. It can be, investing in a coach. And I think the value that those people provide is just again going back to the same thing, normalizing that experience for you, but also keeping you accountable to those self-care things that you desperately need. I think that's one of the biggest things. I hired a business coach, and she has a young kid as well. And one thing we honestly worked on together, which was just putting a list of things together that are every single day non-negotiables. Like, I will do these things every single day because I know that I show up better for my partner, my daughter, my dog, everything when I've done these things. And for me, that looks like journaling every single morning, meditating every single morning, writing like something outside of my journal, whatever that might be, moving my body, whatever that looks like, getting fresh air, reading nonfiction, fictional books that I enjoy. Just little things like that, don't take up that much time. I, started waking up an hour earlier to get them done. And if I don't do them, if I miss my alarm somehow, I can tell there's a stark difference in the way that I am throughout the day. So at this point, there's nothing that will keep me from doing those things. And I think that, professionals can help keep you accountable in those ways. They can help remind you, like, even just call you out when you need it, give you a little bit of tough love. Honestly, that's, one thing that I tell my clients is like, I'm going to tell you the truth about it. I'm going to, that's it. When you sign up with me, that's one thing that you're signing on to is like, I'm going to tell you what you're missing in your life that's going to help you turn this around. I'm going to show you who you were before kids and who you are now, and it's clear the all of those self-care tasks have now dropped off, and now you don't know who you are anymore, and you're lost with your identity. So let's start picking those things up one at a time, and you start feeling like yourself again. So I think that that's just like, I think it's the best thing that you can do for yourself as a mom. And then just as far as the mental health side goes with therapy and everything like that, I think just having somebody there to work through the very natural issues that you go through in motherhood, like postpartum rage, anxiety that infiltrates your mind like nothing else does. I think just and getting the tools to work through those so that, 10 years from now, when you have another kid, those pop up, you still have those tools. You'll never forget them. So, yeah, I could go on, but yes, I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. And I love a point that you make that is so true, and is the accountability part. Because the
Yes.
reality is there is nothing that we as mom don't know that
Mhm.
we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
So
everything that you
true.
said, journaling, meditating, moving the body, water, eating good,
Mhm.
all air, like all of those are things, like it's not that you are going to have that support for them to give you the Santo Grail, the Holy Grail of something that you never hear
Yeah.
before. Is that accountability and that support into we can do it.
Mhm.
Let's break it down.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot see yourself moving for a full gym class. Okay, go and put music and
Yeah.
dance 2 songs and text me when you are done. It's that little accountability and support,
Mhm.
because one of the things now that we are closing up that I want to remind everybody that is hearing us, and I want to hear out your thoughts as to, is we sometimes forget that we are a newborn too. And
Yeah.
as a new, like, it's almost like if you leave your newborn and you're like, oh, you know what to do. You
Yeah.
need to feed, eat, you need to, that newborn needs care. And then we are newborns because we are also a new mom. Not only the first time, every
Totally.
time that we give birth, the mom is a newborn too. And
Yeah.
because of that, it deserves to have that care and that love and that cheerleading and that
Mhm.
accountability and that kindness and gentleness and grace around the
Mhm.
journey to help us.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, for sure.
And as we start closing, I would love, love, love for you to share with the audience if you had one final message, what that message will be for the moms and the moms to be that are hearing us
Mhm.
around the world. And then if they fall in love with you, if they match with your energy, how they can find you in the world and keep learning from you.
Yeah. I think just one if I could any moms that are listening, I think just I'm giving you permission today to do one thing for yourself, one selfish thing for yourself that will actually allow you to show up better for your family. And I mean, and also, find a mom out there and give them that permission too. Find a mom that's struggling or doing really well and encourage them anyways. I think that the number one thing that we have to do is just support the women around us in whatever decisions that they're making, whatever stage of life that they're in. I think there's nothing more powerful than that. Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Hannah Burns Dunham, or on Instagram at Climbing Trees with Hannah. So,
You hear her climbing trees with Hannah. That's super easy. Go
mhm,
to Instagram and then go to LinkedIn at is in her screen, Hannah Burns Dunham. You can follow her there.
yeah,
And when you go to Instagram, climbing trees with Hannah, follow her, send her love, send her a note on what resonated from this episode. And while you are on Instagram following Hannah, make sure that you are also follow me at Joy Unicorn Coach. Please, we love hearing from you. Send us a message, sharing with us what do you thought about the show, what was an aha moment for you, and how we can serve you more. Remember, we are here as your village, your online village, to help you to win the marathon of motherhood without burnout. Now, this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it.